Building off the success of Barbie dolls in the female market, in 1964 the first G.I. Joe action figures were released. Hey, welcome to WatchMojo.com. I'm your host Derek Allen, and today we're going to take a look at the history of this mega successful franchise.
G.I. Joe, fighting man from
It was the first half of the 1960s when toy creator Stan Weston pitched the idea of a military-themed figure. Quickly approving development of the idea, Hasbro immediately coined the terms action figure and movable man of action to describe these new toys. In less than 1 year, the G.I. Joe America's Movable Fighting Man line was introduced at New York's International Toy Fair. The brand's name was a nod to the Oscar-nominated 1945 film, The Story of G.I. Joe. Standing at 11.5 inches tall, the G.I. Joe action figures had 21 moving parts and featured full uniforms. Soon after, Hasbro discovered they had indeed found an untapped market with figures aimed to boys, as they sold more than 2 million G.I. Joes in the first year alone.
Remember, only G.I. Joe is G.I. Joe.
However, the second half of the 1960s, with the United States fighting an unpopular war in Vietnam, Hasbro thought it was best to refocus the brand in 1970 as a non-military adventure team.
This is the rugged G.I. Joe adventure team.
Now G.I. Joe fought ecological disasters and wild animals, as opposed to other human beings. Despite seeing new developments throughout the franchise's first decade, such as the now famous Kung Fu Grip, the line ended in 1976. It wouldn't be until 1982 that another official G.I. Joe line hit stores. Now reintroduced as a 3 3/4 inch figure, the new toy line was named G.I. Joe, a Real American Hero, and would eventually feature alongside it an animated television series, an animated film, as well as a Marvel comic book series. It was this incarnation of G.I. Joe that would become the franchise's most recognized series. The new line placed the G.I. Joe team as a counter-terrorist team whose main objective was to protect humans from the terrorist organization Cobra, who were bent on world domination.
We now stand ready to rule the world!
The animated series tended to feature a specific character in each episode from the G.I. Joe line as a way to advertise their figures. Each episode also finished with a public safety lesson which popularized the phrase, "Knowing is half the battle."
Never get in anything that could close up and trap you.
Like an old trunk or an abandoned refrigerator. Now we know.
And knowing is half the battle.
A poorly received direct-to-video animated film named G.I. Joe the Movie was released in 1987, shortly after the animated series had been cancelled. Seeing the interest for the Real American Hero line waning in the late 80s and early 90s, Hasbro decided to cancel the line in 1994. There have been other more short-lived lines such as Sergeant Savage and his Screaming Eagles, G.I. Joe Extreme, as well as the more recent G.I. Joe Sigma 6. Trying to bank in on the past success of the G.I. Joe lines, Hasbro has released several collections based on past lines, including a Masterpiece series, as well as a collection beginning in 2007 to commemorate the 25th anniversary of the line first released in 1982. The G.I. Joe franchise was finally brought to the big screen in 2009 as a live-action film. The film cost $170 million to make and is an origin story, detailing the rise of the terrorist Cobra organization. Starring Channing Tatum, Dennis Quaid, and Sienna Miller, the film's actors were scanned for Hasbro's 2009 Rise of Cobra toy line, proving that the G.I. Joe franchise, even after 45 years, is still fighting to win over new generations.